All right. Until now, we have been working with the properties which are related to the grid container. But from now on, we will be working with the properties which are related to the grid items. And in case if you do not remember what exactly is a grid container and grid item, let's go to Excalibur and see. So as you can see here, we have this blue box, right? And inside of that, we have many of the elements. So for this particular blue box, if we set the display property to grid or inline grid, then this particular container becomes a grid container. And all of the items inside of the grid container are called grid items. All right. So this is the grid container and grid items. All right. So let's go to the code once again. And let's go to the browser as a matter of fact. But before doing that, what I'll do, I'll just get rid of all of these ones. Okay. All right. And here what we have something like this, right? So we have 2 rows here inside of the grid template, and we have 4 columns. Okay. So if I do that and we have only one element here inside of the HTML, then what do you think will happen? So if I just go to the browser, so this will happen, right? So this is the first element. But you might be thinking, okay, so we have only the first element. Does that mean the grid is not working anymore? No, the grid is working, and I can prove it to you. So if I just open up the DevTools and go to here inside of the layout, and here inside of the grid overlays, I can just check that. And as you can see, we have the containers. Okay, and this is displayed quite properly here. And also it is showing up the gaps as well. So what I'll do, I'll just add only the 20 pixel gap for row and the columns. Okay, so that will be a little bit more visible. All right, so this is a little bit more visible here. So as you can see, we have all of these lines, and also as you can see, we have some numbers as well. If I just zoom in a little bit, like the numbers are not zooming up. Okay, so we cannot change the zoom size of these numbers, but as you can see here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Here we have 1, 2, 3, and here inside of this axis, basically we have -5, -4, -3, -2, -1, and here we have -1, -2, -3. So what these are called? These are called the grid lines. Okay, we call them the grid lines, and we can work with them quite easily. For example, if we want to move this particular element from this particular position to something like this one, I want to move that to the 4th column, and I want to span that particular element to the 1st and the 2nd column, I can do that. So by using the CSS grid, we can position our elements quite easily inside of the grid container. Okay, so that is something which we will definitely see in the upcoming videos. Okay, all right, so what we can do, we can just position these elements. For example, I want to span this particular element so that this particular element should go to the 2nd column as well, like span to the 2nd column. We can do that. If we want to start from this particular line, which is line number 3 here, and span across 2 columns, we can do that. Or for example, I want to span across the whole column, basically whole 4 columns, I can do that as well. Okay, so in that way we can use the grid lines so that we can specify and position our elements quite easily. All right, so this is the grid lines. And also inside of the DevTools, as you can see, we can pick up the colors as well. So yeah, I will stick with this particular pinkish color, which stands out a little bit more inside of the white. Okay, but you can change that thing up as well. Okay, in this way, we can use the layout tab and the grid overlays inside of the Chrome DevTools, and we can see all of this in action. And if you are using Firefox, I believe there is an alternative method to do the same thing there as well. And also I really like the grid overlay in the Firefox as well. All right, so this is the grid lines in the CSS grid.